Hello crafty friends! In this video I'm going to make a card using the parameters from this week's Craft Roulette. How far will I stretch them this week? Let's find out. This week's card I took a little bit of a different approach than I have in the past. I just sort of went along with the parameters kind of one by one instead of visualizing a whole card in my head. The first was the colors, so I decided to have a tan and blue or dark blue sort of palette and white. And then I went with the dog stamp that I'm going to color in those colors. And as that was sitting out to dry, I decided to do the sentiment that's with that stamp set. That is encouragement, so that there was that parameter. So I kind of got the parameters done quickly as far as the plan, but as far as what the card was going to look like, that I didn't quite figure out yet. So I got this embossing powder in this like cornflower blue free with my last scrapbook.com order. So I decided to use it. It was sitting on my desk and it fit in the blue category of the colors that I was planning. So I used that. And then I decided to use colored pencils for this stamp. So I picked some browns and some tans and some blues to go along with my color scheme. And then I used, the stamp was a little, the way that the lines were sketchy, it was hard where the feet are. Like I was like, is that the bear or the dog? In a few spots. So I decided to do like the bear, then the pillow, then like I broke it down into pieces, which I don't always color like that, but it helped with this stamp for me. I'm using colored pencils in a couple colors, and then I'm using, it's called Zest-It, which is similar to Gamsol. It smells like lemons, or citrus, which is a scent that I really like. It is kind of strong, but I really like the smell. It doesn't give me a headache or bother me. So it's supposedly, I always say supposedly, it's supposedly, according to them, non-toxic. So you can smell it. I do cap it in between when I'm not using it because it is strong smelling, and I'm always leery. I'm not in a designated quote-unquote ventilated area. I'm just in my art room. So I figure I'll cap it when I'm not currently using it. Although if you can see in the top corner, it's actually open at the moment. So I decided to do like the pillow in like a gray and navy kind of, or blue kind of look. Same thing with the slippers. The colored pencils I'm using are Prismacolor. They are, right now, my go-to. I have a good amount of colors in them, although I'm always looking to add a couple more here and there. When I started pulling the colors, I felt like I didn't have a good navy. So I put that on my list for the next time I go shopping for crafts, because they have really good open stock, even available at Michael's. I don't have to always get it online, so that's good. So the way that I go about usually using colored pencils and Zest-It is I put the darker, like a heavier touch where I feel like shading would be, and then I lighten my hand as I go out, and then the Zest-It sort of kind of blends it out like that. So if you don't have a bunch of different shades of a color, the Zest-It or Gamsol, they do the same thing, help you sort of shade even when you don't have a variety of colors, which is why I really like it. It kind of makes you look like a better color than you are. So I got this stamp set a while ago and I was looking for stamps for when someone is sick, and it's various stamps with dogs that have, one has like a cone on his head, which is cute, but when I saw this one with the slippers, I thought that it was cute, and it wouldn't be just a stamp of browns like a dog, can be. I thought that would help give it another pop of color, because I picked sort of a simple color palette. So that's why I picked this stamp. I've never used it. I've had it for a while, which again is why I love Craft Roulette. I can't tell you how many times I've taken out stamps that I bought 6 months ago, a year ago, and I've never used. And then Craft Roulette comes up with a parameter that forces me to sort of go digging and reminds me of some of the stamps that I purchased and never used. So now that I'm finished coloring, the Zest-It on this thick cardstock is instantly dry. And I can then go right into fussy cutting this out. I don't have the die cuts for this stamp. I'm not even sure where I got this stamp. That's how long ago I got it, because I take them out of the packaging often and put them in CD cases and then label the cases just with a number, and then I have images of all of my stamps in a big 3-ring binder categorized. Since I had so many CD cases left over from the 90s, I figured it was a good way to upcycle them. Hey, just a quick reminder, please like and subscribe. Thank you! Next part I worked on was this scrap of navy or dark blue, it's not really navy, paper that I had in my scrap pile. And off camera I doused it in the powder, the static powder, because I'm using some embossing ink. I think it's the Tim Holtz, yeah. And I'm going to use that cornflower again. You really couldn't see the color. I thought it'd be a little more opaque. Now I know that this is not an opaque embossing powder, but it did, you know, they did, I wish they had stayed that color, but it was okay. After I heated it up, it was just shiny. It was like glossy, darker paper. And then I'm going to add, which is another parameter, some twine, which is like a cornflower color, so it matches the embossing ink or powder that I used. And here's where, you know, I had all these different images or card pieces in my mind, but now I have to put it all together. And I kind of came up with a bunch of different, I was playing around with a bunch of different placements of all my you know, all the parts that I had collected to put on the card and see what I thought was the prettiest. And that took me a little while to do. And I cut that too short, so I was having trouble tying the bow. I ended up going with like a little messy sort of bundle because I didn't want to retie it. And then I decided I needed more tan, so I just die cut out a circle, and I'm going to kind of play around with where I want to put those. And because of the twine, they're very thin foam squares that I have for that, because I didn't need it to be really high. I tried not to put a lot of dimension on my cards in case I ever want to mail them, but it is nice for dimension. So I like these. I think I got those in the mail from like Temu or something like that. They're really thin. And there I am kind of like deciding, well, it's not going to be a bow, so how do I want the twine to sort of end? And oh, you can't see it that well in the video, but the white paper is paw print embossed to go along with the little stripe that I did with the embossing stamp. It's not the same set, but the paw print's almost the same, so it's like they came together. And kind of figured out where I wanted to put everything after that. The tan circles really help, because before that I felt like my elements were sort of floating, so that helps kind of ground it. And I just put some foam squares on the top of that dog so that it was all even. And then I decided my sentiment could be popped up too with the same, they're like really shallow. They're not real sticky either, probably because they're very cheap from Temu. So I decided to add a little glue, I think. I think I added glue. No, I didn't. I was being brave. And then I'm just going to trim off after it's been glued down the little edges. And I'm going to put it on my card base. I decided to pop that up. That is from Michaels. I've been using up what I have. It's okay. It's not, it's just it curls up, so it doesn't lay as flat as I would like. But it gets the job done. And then I'm going to just put that on my card base, which is the tan, which is the craft paper. Add a little more glue to my twine so it stays in that like rope kind of shape, like lasso. And that's it. All right, let's go over the parameters. So project is an encouragement card. Get well card is what I decided to go with. Colors, sophisticated. I went with blues and tans and white. That is sophisticated to me. And then I used a dog for a house pet. And then I finished it off with some cornflower and white twine. Thanks so much for watching. Have a crafty day.